All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, today we're going to be talking about what happened after the Articles of Confederation. Because if you remember from the last lesson, it was pretty bad. So, we're going to analyze the Constitutional Convention. We're going to critique the reasons and agreements for the Three-Fifths Compromise. And we're going to develop a logical argument on whether our founding fathers would be pleased with the way things are going in our country right now. So here's your warm up picture. Okay. So look at those guys' faces. So we got Ben Franklin, the one on the, excuse me, the one on the left. You got, I believe that's James Madison in the middle. And then you have Alexander Hamilton on the right. So based off their facial expression, their body language, do you think they would be proud of the Congress we have now? Because if you look at the picture below, how Congress looks like, you could tell from their body language um, what's going on. So, do you think our founding fathers would be proud, of the way things are going right now, the way Congress is acting, the president, former presidents and things like that? Do you think they'd be pleased, or do you think they'd be, feeling something else? So, again, look at their expressions and write down your response. Okay. So, pause the video, write your response because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right. So, as we talked about in the last lesson, the Articles of Confederation was just basically a document that hurt our country. Okay. We did not create a perfect document, like some people think we did with the Constitution. We didn't. We messed up. So, that's why we had to have another document set up. So, on May 1787, every state except Rhode Island sent delegates to Philadelphia, and their sole purpose for being there was to revise the Articles of Confederation, basically to change it up. Okay. Now, the delegates quickly decided right away, you know what? This thing is not worth saving. This Article of Confederation sucks so bad. Let's just toss it and start brand new. Okay. Now, at this convention, there were 55 delegates. Okay. And these guys were seen as some of the best of the best in our country. You know, even now, the standards were just like, wow, these guys were just amazing. Um, Now, here's the thing: they needed somebody to take charge, someone to say, hey, calm down, relax. Okay, you guys speak, you guys hold on. Let's meet up, let's do this. Um, and everyone basically, when they said who should lead this, everyone looked to the back, and there was George Washington. And they're like, hey, man, you got to lead this. Everyone will listen to you. Everyone respects you. So Washington said, yeah, I'll do it. Okay. Now, who was there? Like I said, it was like an all star group. So you had people like Ben Franklin, Alexander Hamilton, James Madison. You had some of the greatest minds we had at that time there discussing how can we fix this? How can we what do we learn from our mistakes with the Articles of Confederation, and how can we do better? Now, right off the back, there are three things that every delegate agreed on. All 55 guys agreed. Number one, that the government needed more power to gather taxes. That was a big one because if they can't, excuse me, if they can't force people to pay taxes, then what's the point? We're just going to be back in the same trouble we were before. Make laws that would be binding upon the states. So make laws that it's not just, oh, if you're in this state, you're fine, but if you're in this state, no. You know, that when they make a law for the entire colonies, it's for the entire colonies, not just singling out one person or putting one state above um, another person or another state. And also that the government should be broken up into three branches. That whole thing of just one singular government, that was not going to work. They needed to have the government branch out. Other than that, Everything else they argued on. They argued on every single other thing. Those were the only three things they agreed on. Okay. But one of the key issues that kept coming up was, how do you make the vote equal between large states and small states? Okay. Because small states were like, hey, it's not our fault that our part of the new of the new world, the new continent is small. That's not our fault. Those lines were drawn up years ago, you know, and we can't like squeeze a ton of people in here, so our numbers are always going to be shorter compared to a large state. So they felt that their vote should equal everyone else. Now, some large states are like, no, why? So if we make it even, a state with 1,000 people and a state with 10,000 people, you're saying they should be equal? Then that's basically saying that state with 1,000 people, their vote is 10 times worth more than these other guys. And that's not right. So that was the issue. How do you make it even? Now, that guy right there you see in the picture, that is Roger Sherman. He was from Connecticut. And he suggested, kind of like the Massachusetts Constitution, sorry, had a brain fart for a moment, that the Congress should be bicameral. Two houses. One House of Representatives, which it was based on population, and the Senate, where no matter how big or small the state was, they had two senators. And in order for a law to pass, both houses had to agree. Okay. Now, this was, wow, an eye opener. Some people were just like, wow, that's a smart move. This became known as the Great Compromise or the Connecticut Compromise. So this made the small states happy because they're like, hey, we at least have the Senate. So if the big states try to do something, we can stop them because there's a lot of small states and we're at the same value of having two senators. We could block the vote. Um, and the large states liked it because, hey, in the House of Representatives, the more people you have, the more power you have. Now, here's the thing. Sherman didn't mean to bring this debate to the floor, but it came up because of what he suggested. Now the problem comes, what do you do about slaves? Do you count slaves? Because remember, in the House of Representatives, the more people you have, the more people you have, the more power you have. So southern states that had a lot of slaves were like, yes, yes, you should count them. They're people. You should count them as people because they wanted more power. Okay. Now, the free states were like, no, no, they should not count as people because you don't treat them like people. You don't give them freedom. You don't give them, um, they're not free. You treat them like property. Does a chair, do you count a chair as a person? No. And that's the thing. You see these people as property. So why should, that count? You know. And I know it seems like, isn't that kind of reverse? You know, that why does a slave owner want them to count as people, see them as people? They really don't. They just want the power. And those states that are free, they know that if the slave states get the numbers, they can keep slavery going on for as long as they want. So this came to an issue, and both sides couldn't agree. Now remember, while all this is going on, the country is still getting deeper and deeper into debt. The Articles of Confederation is still going on, okay? And things are just getting worse and worse and worse every single day. So these guys have to come to an agreement. Where do you count slaves or not? And so they started negotiating. You know, 20, they should count as 25%. No, 75, 33, 66, and then they finally came to 3/5, which is 60%. Okay. They came to that agreement of 60%, that slaves counted as 60% of people. So for every five slaves, they counted as three people. Now, another part of this agreement was that the slave trade could not be banned for like another like 20 years or something like that. So until 1808. And the government couldn't put high taxes on the slaves coming in. So what do you think these guys, knowing that the slave trade, could not be touched until 1808, what do you think they did during that time? They brought in a ton of slaves because they knew, hey, we're on the clock. We got only so much time. We don't know if this is gonna after 1808, we could still bring in slaves. We don't know if we can do that or not. So bring them in now while we still can. All right, so here is your exit ticket question. If you had to pick a side to show your support for, who would you choose? Large states or small states? Who would you back up if they were making that argument? Hey, um, the small states, it's not our fault that our state is small. We can't fit that many people. So, if we don't make it even, large states will always get what they want. And on the side of large states, hey, you know, we shouldn't be even because a state with like 1,000 people, as opposed to a state with 10,000 people, you can't make them equal because 1,000 doesn't equal 10,000. That makes those people who are 1,000 makes their vote worth more, and that's not what this country is all about. Everyone's vote is equal. So who do you think has a basically a better argument? Okay, so there's a writing prompt to help you out. If I had to choose, I would support which one, large, small states, because you know. So once you fill out this, you're done with this lesson. So hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I do apologize for my voice. Again, I'm not feeling too well right now. So with that being said, guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later.